After a really rough weekend, I think we all deserve a moment of levity. So with that hope in mind, Brian White has joined me yet again. Hey, Brian.
How are you, Randy?
Well, in addition to all the other nonsense that's going on this weekend, which is horrible and terrible, and we're not going to talk about it, we also had a bunch of silly news all
Yes,
over the
well,
internet this weekend. What was going on with
yes.
that?
All kinds of crazy stuff. There's a lot of people who are freaking out that the suspected date that I've been giving for the Cybertruck release is not going to happen. But I had an opportunity to speak with a Tesla insider uh, who um, who has suggested that there are more Cybertrucks ready than we had believed. Uh, and that, yeah, so there's a couple insider leaks. One is not mine, it's secondhand.
Okay.
And I won't say who gave it to me, but it's someone in Texas who has a very good reputation. And he was saying that there are portions of the line that will not be full steam ready until November.
Okay.
To which he's saying that tells me they're not going to hold the event until November. Sure, they will. I mean, they held the semi event a year ago and it ain't ready. uh, but separately, I heard from someone in California who personally got to stand in a room with 40 completed Cybertrucks.
My.
And they were bringing in contractors to do some kind of final validations on them.
I see.
So there are trucks ready, and we've seen them being shipped around the country by the truckload, small trucks, mind you, 5 truckloads.
Mm-hmm.
There was one spotted in Eastern Washington, like North Oregon, kind of. And why are there 5 being shipped to the Pacific Northwest? Is this going to be one of those live events they do where simultaneously all over the country there's a rollout? That would be an interesting new way to do it, and logistically less challenging than one master event. Just have the master event on the big screen, and here we are all over the. I mean, maybe that's pure speculation, but the others are things I've actually heard.
Yeah.
So Cybertruck's very exciting.
Well, so the October 26th roughly date that whispered in my ear many months
I
ago,
did.
told me that I had
I did.
I had to shut up, and I did a good job of not spreading the rumor. But I have this politeness problem. Now, I don't know how polite the folks are down in Texas, but Texas has a reputation for being really polite, that you need to give people at least 3 weeks notice, in particular when they're going to be flying and trying to make arrangements at hotels and things like that. So if it's 3 weeks notice, we can't do October 26th. So what say you?
So I talked to someone yesterday who is, boy, how to put it. Anyway, she was telling me she believes it's October 26th. And I said, apart from me, who did you hear that from? And she said, 2 other people who don't watch your channel.
Okay.
So that keeps my confidence fairly high until I won't worry that it's not that date until the earnings call comes and goes without an announcement or a date is given.
Right.
They are not above giving less than 3 weeks notice. I want to say the Plaid event was only maybe a week's notice.
Really?
Yeah, it was very short notice. So, and it depends on the size of the event. But the VIPs that they really want there, and I don't mean YouTubers, I mean the actual VIPs were notified last month.
Gotcha.
So I think it would be more surprising that they would tell them when and where to be and then change it.
Yeah.
Than it would be to give the rest of us short notice. YouTubers would show up if you gave them 24 hours notice. It would be expensive. We'd be bitter, but a lot of them would do it.
So there was also a a half an hour long video that came out yesterday from Tesla on the Cybertruck bouncing along the back roads of Baja, California, going all the way down to Cabo.
Wow.
And did you get a chance to take a look at that?
No. Yes, all yesterday I was at an event in
Oh, that's right.
Oregon. I presented I had 3 different presentations. 2 of them even went well. 3 is too many. I will not make that mistake again. But no, I didn't catch it, and I didn't realize it was 30 minutes. When I just saw 30, I thought it was 30 seconds. So I was like,
Yeah,
I can
no,
skip that one.
it's a very long, and I would have to say kind of boring video, like some of the FSD videos where you're just driving along and there's not much happening, and the commenter is trying to come up with something new and original to say about something that's like, oh, there's a beautiful sunset over there, and see, now there's the Pacific Ocean as we give
Oh,
close.
yeah, I'll tell you, the problem they're having is they've got the wrong people in the car.
Somehow they could have had somebody that could have kept the conversation going.
You're telling me Farzad wouldn't have made that the most exciting trip we've ever seen? You're telling me Rob or me or Dirty Tesla or any of these guys wouldn't have done a better job
Or a
presenting it?
team, you and
Or
I.
a team. Oh, yes. I'm just not convinced you exist outside the studio. Sure, I met you in San Diego, but I'm not sure that was really you.
We don't really know, and we may never know.
We never know.
This is, after all, a simulation.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So anyway, that would give us another reason to believe that things are moving along quite rapidly. There was also quite a lot of talk from various people last week who have claimed that they have driven around in, and had an opportunity to explore the interior of and then some people were thinking that those might have been, I think Whole Mars was one of them, and there was somebody else who did videos about their actual experience in the vehicles, and claimed that they had canceled orders for Rivians and all kinds of things. Did anybody ever figure out whether those were hoaxes or real, or do those things really happen, or what do you think?
So I didn't see any videos. I saw a space hosted by Value Analyst, who has a very checkered background in terms of reliability. Most of what was said was either pure speculation or a guess of sufficient vagueness that it wouldn't matter. They said there is a date for the Cybertruck event, but I won't tell you what it is. Okay, that's not a claim. I mean, that's unfalsifiable. We'll never know if that was true or not. They said that the frunk is tall enough that a 5'6" person can lay down in it, 5'7", something like that. That's math you could have done from the front. They're saying, oh, it's going to have a plaid configuration. And then they walked it back a little and said, well, just tri-motor. That's all stuff we knew. So I don't know if it's true or not, but if it is, we didn't actually get any new information. But what they got was clicks. Oh, did they get the clicks?
Yeah. This is true. So any other thoughts with regard to Cybertruck, in what's happening with the Cybertruck advances, things that we know that would, I guess we had a yard full of castings.
Oh, yes. So when those were put out, some people said, oh, this means they're 6 months from production, because when we saw first castings of other models, that meant 6 months. Guys, we've already seen the castings months ago. We're already into that 6 months. Another person said, oh, those are all going to be scrapped. Nope, they don't neatly line them out when they're going to be scrapped. And that's too many for scrap anyway. That means they are in the early steps of ramping for scale production. Now, if some of those automated parts of the line aren't going to be ready until November, that's fine. November is weeks away. But which part of November? Okay, fine. It's a month and a half away. Great. You can still get a lot done in station builds before you get to full rolling line builds. And if a couple parts of it need to be a little bit more manual for a couple weeks, that's not going to kill anybody. So yeah, that all says. And this morning I saw this great clip from 3 years ago on Joe Rogan, where he was saying, his guest was saying, oh, it's never going to be built. It's not going to look anything like it. It'll never be built. It'll never pass crash safety, tests. And I know this because I have talked to several experts. And maybe this gentleman did speak to experts, but I would put some pretty heavy quotation fingers on expert there, because they're wrong. I mean, they were just either you made stuff up and you were wrong, or more likely the people you talked to weren't actually experts.
Well, and you, as you said, you're putting quotes around the word expert. When there's ever any kind of breaking technology, things that are just completely over the top, outside the box, whatever phrase you want to use, then the experts are looking at their expertise up to that point. And they commonly are, filled with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or they're concerned about their reputation. And so they stick to, what they know, as opposed to thinking outside of that and contemplating what could be. And certainly there's a lot of issues, and those have all been raised on X and else and on our shows, with regard to how do you do a crumple zone, and how do you keep fingerprints from being a crazy problem, and how, if you hit a pedestrian, is there more kinetic energy? That was asked. Somebody asked me that in church yesterday morning. Well, what about when the is this going to weigh so much more, and it's going to have more kinetic energy? And I'm like, I think it weighs about the same as an F-150 anyway. But those kinds of issues, the experts would be kind of stuck in the same old school thinking, unless they're able to think outside the box.
Well, if you look at the initial teardown of the first Model 3 that Sandy Munro did, when he's above the shoulders, so to speak, above the axles, he's saying, this car is not very good. There's not much going on here. Great, it's got panoramic glass. That's not revolutionary. And that was his expertise. And then as he got further into it and actually started tearing it apart, once he got to the skateboard, he was blown away, because now I'm looking at something different. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. The Lucid fans love to say, Sandy has looked at the Lucid and he said it's the best he's seen. Sandy has not torn apart a Lucid. So he is not qualified to speak on that. He hasn't told you what it costs to build, how repairable it is. He hasn't weighed in on any of those critical elements that are, if Lucid was as good as they said, they wouldn't have needed to hire Corey. Corey Steuben, formerly of Munro and Associates, has been brought on to right the ship. And if they were already in the position that their fans claim they were, that would be a totally unnecessary step.
So the other thing that I think it was Holmar said was that the handling, because he said he got to ride in one, that the handling and the turning radius were as good as an X or as an S.
That wouldn't surprise me. The handling was remarkably good in the electric Hummer, for as giant and beastly as it was. And the turn radius, we already know it because we've seen it from drone footage. So those are things. I don't believe that Whole Mars would have ridden in one because he's in California, but it's possible. I mean, there are models in California. Actually, now that I think about it, no, there's plenty of them in the Bay Area. He could have ridden in one. But those are things that you could deduce without having ridden in one. We did see pictures that show white interior trimmed accents will be available. And there is a rumor that you could be able to get white seats as well. But that I haven't seen anything sufficient to confirm that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
And then there was the matter of the entertainment center, or the video panel, and the way things were arranged differently. Did you have a chance to see those comments?
I have not seen those comments, but at this point we're so close. I just don't, a lot of this is more fun to debate when it's 6 months or a year out. We just got to wait a couple weeks. I'm fine with that. Whatever it is what it will be. And it's not changing now. So there were a lot of design elements that were smartly debated a year, 2, 3 years ago, because they were things that could be changed. If there was some kind of deal breaker, I'm sure early on they realized the turn radius on this thing is terrible. I know how to fix it. They fixed it. So I'm just not going to worry about it at this point.
Gotcha. All right. Well, anything else on Cybertruck?
On Cybertruck, no, I think we covered it.
Well, then in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break.
My
and then we're
favorite.
going to come back on a new video.
Right.
Because, we both need to make content here. You can't put it all in one video.
Well, a lot of people don't have the time to sit through this part to get to the next part they want to see.
Exactly right. So, Brian, thanks for coming on. Everybody should follow him everywhere he goes on My Tesla Weekend. And, you could follow me too. And, if you're tired of waiting for your Cybertruck, you can always get one of these. Do you know that I got a fourth request this morning again for 10? So,
nice.
Everybody's getting the point. It's a greatest gift ever, the greatest gift ever. You need one of those. You know what to do. There's information down below. Okay, Brian, we will see you on the next one. It's been great talking to you guys.